Hi there, my name is Brendan Hughes and I'm the CEO of Optily. At Optily, our mission is to enable e-commerce businesses to scale efficiently with paid advertising. Today we're going to discuss how to implement and optimize your digital ads funnel strategy in order to drive efficient growth. And the agenda today is to, first of all, talk about the importance of a funnel approach and why it's still relevant today. We're going to hear from a customer, Charles Chy of e-commerce director of Soltech Solutions, who's going to talk to us about his experiences using the funnel methodology and how he optimizes around that. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you can get started or with your funnel or to improve how you manage your funnel in digital ads. So a little bit about me. I'm, I'll say, the CEO of Optily. I've been in digital marketing and e-commerce for nearly 25 years. And I've worked on both sides of the fence. So I'm working in consumer companies buying media and buying advertising, and also working for a large publisher selling media. And I recently published a book called Accelerate E-commerce Growth, where you can access a framework for scaling your e-commerce business with digital advertising. And maybe the first question and topic that we want to talk about today is, is the funnel still relevant? So the funnel was invented as a concept over 120 years ago by an advertiser in Philadelphia. And since then it has been iterated and now is actually much disparaged as a mechanism for understanding how to deploy kind of marketing campaigns. And part of the reason for that is that in a digital context, there are so many touch points that are available to consumers, that how can you possibly put kind of a linear kind of structure around that? And there are three reasons why I'm a fan of the funnel, and people like Charles are as well. And one is very much around structure, to ensure that we have a methodology that we're not just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping that things stick. And then also around kind of measurement. So we're doing different things across our marketing activities, and we measure different things at different stages of the customer journey. And that's critical to understand that, to have those measures in place at different stages of the funnel. And probably most importantly, the funnel still supports and recognizes, how customers purchase and the stages that they go through on their purchase journey. And if we take a step back on that for a quick second, behavioral psychologists who look at, how consumers purchase are relatively consistent on the stages that consumers go through in their purchase journey. So in the first instance, a customer needs to identify a problem that they want to find a solution to, a need that they want fulfilled, or a desire that they want to satisfy. And, unless there's that level of self-awareness, then no purchase is going to happen. And typically once that happens, then the individual goes into what we call a research and evaluation phase, which is information gathering, looking at my options, identifying alternatives, and kind of weighing them up against each other. And then at the last stage is really making that purchase decision, understanding, yes, why am I going to buy this product from this company now? And that's how consumers purchase, regardless of whether they do it in an instant, in a single session and coming from an Instagram shopping ad and making that purchase, or it's over a longer period of time of 2 or 3 months and it's got maybe hundreds of touch points that they've encountered on that purchase journey. And the psychology doesn't alter significantly. And as marketers then, our task is really to nurture customers and consumers through that purchase journey. So at the top of the funnel, we're inspiring cold audiences with the solution and our brand, and how that can transform their lives. So typically we're in storytelling mode. We're painting a picture of how what we do can be really transformative for them and for the needs, the desires and the problems that they have. In the middle of the funnel, where consumers are researching and evaluating their options, we're in education mode. So we're highlighting the features and benefits of our product and how they set us apart from other solutions in the market. And at the lower end of the funnel, when people are at the point of making a purchase decision, we're in convincing mode. So we're overcoming purchase objections. We're introducing concepts such as urgency and scarcity in order to encourage and to convince somebody to purchase kind of from us right now. And the other thing about the funnel is that in a multi-channel world, so if we want to talk to our customers, then we need to be on many more platforms than maybe we thought we were on, or we needed to be on even a few years ago. So of the big ad platforms, the 83% of all ad spend in Western markets is spent on just two big ad platforms, so Facebook and Google. However, there are lots and lots of consumers that are increasingly not on those platforms, and if we want to address them, then we need to be active on other platforms. And another thing to think about here is that some channels are better at different stages of the funnel. So, for example, a search engine doesn't generate demand. So it's very much at the lower and maybe mid stages of the funnel. Whereas, social platforms and video and display platforms are very often great at finding people who are in market for your product, but who are not actively searching for that product. So this adds a huge amount of complexity to the funnel, but is critical if we want to maximize our reach and ensure that we're talking to the right customers in the right way at the right stage of their purchase journey. And maybe one last reason to think about a funnel and is around the efficiency that using a funnel can bring into your advertising campaign, into how you spend your media budget. And we talk about thinking top down, not bottom up. So while most of us and most e-commerce brands are absolutely focused on the cost per acquisition or the return on ad spend at the bottom of the funnel, time and again we find that unless we invest in those mid and upper stage funnel steps, then two things can happen. Either one, the lower funnel becomes incredibly inefficient in terms of the costs per action start to increase. Or secondly, we max out. So in terms of the available audience, because we're not building and growing an audience through the funnel. And there are some interesting metrics here. So a cost per action, typically at the upper end of the funnel where we're going broader and we're doing different activities, can be significantly cheaper than a cost per action in the middle funnel or the lower funnel. So the cost to get somebody to buy my product could be a factor of 100 or more times more expensive than the cost to actually find somebody who's interested and engaged with my story that I'm telling about my product or my brand. And then the investment, typically what we see for e-commerce brands, the investment in the funnel is almost the inverse of the shape of the funnel. So you don't need to invest significantly more in the middle or upper stages than you're doing in the lower funnel. So very often lower funnel budgets are greater than middle funnel, and again greater than those upper funnel stages. So there are lots of great reasons to still think about the funnel as a meaningful way to structure your campaigns and to drive efficiency kind of through those ad campaigns. And one really great way that we found to get started is to use the concept of a customer journey map. And what this is about identifying your key persona and the goals that they have or that you may have for that key persona. And then to understand either through customer research and customer interviews, through your analytics tools, or through speaking with your customer care teams, at each stage of the funnel, what is that persona typically doing? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And maybe what kinds of things are they saying? What questions do they have? And how are they expressing their what they want and what they need? And mapping that out at each stage of the funnel can provide really great insights into how we need to structure our campaigns and what opportunities exist for us when speaking to those customers through our paid media. So that's a whistle stop through why we still love the funnel and we think it's a great structure for our ad campaigns. And what I want to do now is to introduce you to Charles Chy. Charles is a client of Optily's and he's director of e-commerce, amongst other things, at Soltech Solutions. And Charles has been in digital advertising and is really a customer insights leader for many years in his own companies that he works in today, and also in his previous life as building a seven-figure digital agency. So Charles, you're very welcome and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. And really, what I want to do is, would you maybe tell us a little bit about Soltech, a little bit about your background and your role in Soltech and maybe the challenges that you've faced there?
Yeah, so Soltech Solutions creates grow lights for interior design. The indoor plant market, houseplant market, is estimated to reach about 50 billion by the end of 2021. And that has been an enormous surge in the interest in having plants in the home. Soltech Solutions is one of the first brands to pioneer this concept of a luxury plant light. They're also some of my very good friends. And so I joined their team at the end of 2019. At that time, they were doing about $300,000 in online sales. This year, they're on track to do about $3 million. So we've seen a tremendous amount of growth in just a short period of time. And my experience, I've been an agency owner, been on the other side of the fence, and worked with several multi-million-dollar direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands in that time period.
And in Soltech, so that's a massive growth, right, trajectory over the last kind of 12 to 18 months. In terms of as you leading out the marketing function and the advertising, what's been the challenge for you with advertising across multiple ad platforms?
Yeah, the challenge is there are always a ton of moving pieces when you're thinking about campaigns across Google, Facebook, Bing, so on and so forth. And as an advertiser, I think you can spend a lot of time in the day that's just not really efficient because you feel obligated to be in that ad interface. When really the things that are going to be proactive in helping you grow your business comes down to the strategy and the execution of it. So there's a lot of meaningless time that I think people are spending trying to tweak budgets, reallocate bids that ultimately would be better spent just having a better core marketing strategy. And I think strong fundamentals, being really close to the customer, understanding how to get people to engage with us by creating relevant content, improving awareness, and focusing on brand is what got us to the point that we are today.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll talk in a second about the funnel, but you're a believer in the funnel methodology and then and also then in automation. So you came to us nearly a year ago, I think, at this stage, really focusing on how can you automate a lot of those processes. And what was driving that decision?
The initial thing that got me interested was the idea that we could unify multi-channel attribution, because obviously Google Analytics, last before direct click attribution model, cookie-based, and then Facebook, you have like user-based attribution, and then it's basically a view-through conversion. And so when I was looking at Google Analytics conversions versus Google Ads conversions versus Facebook conversions, there was just such a wide discrepancy. And for us, we wanted to drill down a little bit better into understanding where performance was coming from and therefore where we should be scaling investment. And so that's initially what brought us to the table. And along the way, there have been a lot of other values that we've realized through your technology.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe let's chat about your funnel strategy, because I think this will be very, very interesting for people. So we've taken from one channel, just Instagram at the moment. So but just gives us a sense of how you use different creative, different messaging, and your audience structures are slightly different at each stage of the funnel. So do you want to take us through your top of funnel, your middle funnel, your bottom funnel, and your thought processes around each of those?
Yeah, well, a couple thoughts. First is that, everyone is competing for the same slice of the market, and that's basically the lower funnel demand. So in our case, it would be keywords like indoor plant light, modern grow light, so on and so forth. But what we found is that those keywords are actually really low converting, and that 50% of our conversion happens either direct on our website or through branded search. And so what that means to me is that the purchase decision typically is being made before they even, much after a period of deliberation. And that's why our investment in the top of the funnel is so important. I think also like scaling an e-commerce business in a competitive market, like requires investment in brand in order to provide some differentiation, and also find that competitive white space. And that the way you create that brand cannot only be reliant on advertising. So we have a very strong content strategy. We have our personas nailed down. We've done a substantial amount of research investing in those that persona work. And at the end of the day, when we think about top funnel, that is primarily our strategy for scaling performance. Because if we can get top funnel advertising to be profitable, or break even, 2x, 3x, what that allows us to do is pull on a lever, massively increase exposure of our brand to the market, and still have a ad machine that is self-sustaining. So if we get our top funnel down pat, then all of the bottom, like mid funnel, lower funnel performance will follow suit. And then the way that we focus on getting top funnel performance to really, be competitive is by thinking about how we can engage audiences in a way that is relevant. And I think this is a mistake that advertisers make, and I've actually tested this, where we ran ads solely for the purpose of getting someone's attention. And so in the standard funnel framework, it's like AIDA, right? Attention, interest, decision, awareness. And when we ran ads that were solely geared around getting attention, but not necessarily relevance to the consumer or the brand, we got a lot of negative flashback on Facebook. And so we had to ended up taking down those ad sets. So the question is, when people are in an awareness channel, what are they looking for? How do you engage them in a way that is relevant, not just personal, but relevant? And, ultimately get them to stop for 5-6 seconds and look at what you have to say. And so we spend a lot of time figuring out the top funnel, investing in our marketing strategy, our persona work, our targeting, our fundamentals, getting that to perform at a break even or higher ROAS, and then the rest of the funnel follow suit. So that's where a lot of our emphasis is: brand building, top funnel, awareness, relevance.
Okay. And in terms of how you invest, would you say you invest, more of your budget in upper funnel, or is it more that you're investing more energy in upper funnel, but you're finding the upper funnel to be actually quite efficient?
The budget allocation is skewed more towards the bottom funnel, but the energy allocation is definitely skewed more towards the upper funnel. So, the bottom funnel, like what we found is that, like on our Facebook ads, we have creatives that we've been running for like 6 months without changing, because they're returning at like 20x, 40x ROAS. And so if it's not broken, don't fix it. Whereas like upper funnel, we're constantly testing new creatives. And I think there's this tendency for advertisers, once again, to over-engineer instead of really thinking through a strong fundamental strategy. So at the lower funnel, a lot of those decisions have already been made based on your positioning, based on the initial exposure to the brand. And so because it's working well, our emphasis is just not there. It's on the top funnel, because we're always trying to get more performance out of our initial interaction with someone.
Yeah, brilliant. And so maybe take us on a little bit in terms of you using Optily, and kind of how has that changed maybe your working day in terms of maybe the time you're saving, and so where does it fit in, a tool like Optily that brings automation around that optimization? So so
a couple key areas. First being the unified channel attribution, being able to sync up our investment across multiple channels within a single unified interface. The second thing is I don't manually adjust bids anymore or reallocate budget. I set up the Opti groups. I activate it. I let the recommendations get applied automatically each day. And once again, as an advertiser, there's a tendency, it's almost like you feel like you're not doing your job when you're not sitting in front of the ad interface applying adjustments. But realistically, machine learning is far more suited for a task like that than a marketer. A marketer should be staying higher level, focus on the creative, especially now that there are tools like this. And so on average, I would say I'm saving about 2 hours a day that I would normally spend in the ad interface, maybe perhaps over-engineering, overthinking. And instead, all of that, we essentially outsource to Optily now.
Okay. Yeah, no, and so I think you were saying to us earlier, you're saving about 10 hours a week, and you're at any one time you've more than 10 campaigns live and kind of being managed in some kind of an automated way. Obviously then the real goal is in the middle of all of that you're seeing better performance over time. And is that the combination of the funnel strategy, very well thought out fundamentals, and then automation that is freeing you up to be more strategic?
Absolutely. I mean, because there's a trade-off, right? The energy that you put into optimizing and engineering your ad account is energy that ultimately you're not spending into thinking about who your customers are, what they want to see, and how to engage with them. And I think there's a plague in advertising where marketers just have bad fundamentals. I hate to put it that way, but for so long, social media buys were underpriced, and post-COVID, they're pretty competitive. And there's also a history of third-party cookies allowing Facebook and Google to track users and their behavior across platforms, across web interfaces, and that is ending, right? Third-party cookies are going away. And so we can no longer rely on machine learning algorithms to tell us who our users are, where they live, what they're interested in. And so very, very soon, the advertising industry is probably due for a wake-up call, because the marketers with bad fundamentals who have been getting away with it are all of a sudden going to find their ROAS and their campaigns plummeting and not being sure what to do about it. And it's because they never did the fundamental work. Doing persona research, actually going and talking with the consumer, whatever goes into a brand positioning document that is produced by an agency, and I know this having been on that side, it's just their best guess about who the customer is. And oftentimes it's just some document that is put together and handed to the customer. And it looks and feels good maybe intellectually, but when that brand positioning market document is executed on and you create the campaign, oftentimes we're wrong. And so then it's this process of iteration, A/B testing, et cetera, to try and figure out a formula that works, but people are just throwing spaghetti on the wall. And therefore, many companies are A/B testing themselves out of business. And so it's really this focus on strategy that is important for a marketer to master, especially as the world of advertising continues to evolve.
Brilliant, Charles. Thank you so much for your for those, especially those insights at the end there, because you're right. So we got to get our fundamentals in order, and then let the machines do what they do best when it makes most sense. So thanks again to Charles for giving us his time today. If you want to start getting your fundamentals right and figure out how you can accelerate your growth, then there's a few things that you can get from today. So one, you can get a free copy of the book, Accelerate E-commerce Growth. You can download that. You can get in touch with us and book a consultation and a free audit of your funnel and how your campaigns are fitting in with a robust funnel strategy. And obviously check out the perks page and get some exclusive offers to help you get started. So thank you for your time today, and thanks to Charles for participating in this.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.